Today's episode is brought to you by Workfeed, the all-in-one platform to manage your restaurant team. Piet, welcome.
Thank you.
For the people who don't know you, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Piet Klein, and I'm the CEO of Restaurant Flammen, and I've been with the company for almost 7 years now.
And for those who don't know Restaurant Flammen, can you tell a bit more about the company and the concept?
Yeah, of course. Restaurant Flammen is a Danish grill buffet chain. We have 20 restaurants, aiming higher than that, of course. But right now we have 20 restaurants. We are family-owned business. We are owned by a dad and a mom and their two children who started the first restaurant in 2009. And then we've just been growing since then. The original idea was only to have one or two restaurants and then be happy with that. A little bit. and then it just rocketed since that, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Like a small escalation going from a goal of having 2 restaurants to being 20 now. Yeah. What is it, 15 years later?
Exactly. And then, of course, just to add that to the conversation as well, our focus is on the grill. So we have a grill that is centered in the middle of the restaurant where we do most of our food. We do a lot of meat. We have 15 different cuts on the grill mixed with vegetables. We have a big salad bar. We have minimum 4 different starters, etc., etc.
Yeah, and it's like all you can eat.
Concept, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And before you joined Flammen in 2019, you spent many years in retail, mainly at Jysk. What made you decide to go into the hospitality industry in the first place?
That's a good question. And you're right, I've been in retail for many years. And Jysk, I worked with them for 2 times, actually. Then I've been in the fashion industry working for Levi's as well. And before I joined Flammen, I was a retail director for Ilva, which is a furniture chain, a Danish furniture chain. So I've always been fascinated by people and actually making people happy. And that's also the most important thing in retail, that is getting people into your store, giving them a good offer, a good deal, and make them come back, But in retail, you make them come back primarily because of good offers, That's why in Denmark we are so focused on giving good offers all the time. I mean, you cannot open a radio or SoMe or a newspaper without you seeing a retail chain giving 10 or 15 or maybe up to 50% discount on a TV or something.
It's the same in every country, I would say.
And it's crazy. So I've always been fascinated about, how can you do that differently? How can you talk to people's needs and feelings instead of just, luring with a good offer? And you do that in the restaurant industry, because in the restaurant business, you don't just spend your money, you also spend your time. And you actually look forward to going to a restaurant, When I go out with my wife or even with our 3 children, we look forward to it. We look forward to it the day before, maybe even the week before. We look forward to come in, sitting down, spending an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours on good food, good wine, drinks, and just relax.
Yeah, you're not just going to come back for a good price, because the experience needs to be good as well, right?
And you don't do that if you go into Jysk or Netto. You don't look forward to that all week long and just say, okay, wow, now I'm going to Jysk or IKEA or Elgigan and spending 2 hours. It's going to be amazing.
That's the nightmare to have to go to IKEA on a Saturday afternoon.
But when you go to the restaurant, you're happy from the beginning.
Yeah.
So it also makes our job actually a little bit easier than in retail, because when the guests enter the restaurant, they're always happy. Our job is to make them 10% more happy when they leave the door after they finish the meal, So
that was the main driver
for you? That was the main driver. And then I think I've always had I wouldn't call it a dream, but thoughts about working within that kind of industry, within hotels, within leisure, within events, restaurants, within the whole hospitality business.
And more with experiences in general, perhaps.
Exactly. Hey, and then it ended up with Flammen.
Yeah, nice. What a nice story to hear. I'm also curious, like, what did you do within your first months to adapt to the industry? Because it is, of course, quite a different industry, even though there might be more overlap than most people think in terms of running the business. Getting used to how everything goes is quite different. So I'm curious how that was and what you did.
Yeah, it can be difficult for me to shut up, actually. But I did. I did for a couple of months.
Listen.
I totally shut up. And I used my 2 years and I listened. And it might sound basic, but that's what you have to do in any new CEO role. You have to learn the business. You have to learn the engine. So I spent a lot of time and a lot of hours and many days working in our restaurants, both on the floor and also in the kitchen. I was happy to have a lot of good people around me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have succeeded.
Your wife must have been happy as well, maybe with a few years of
I didn't cook when I got home. Believe me. But so I spent many days, many weeks on the floor, both front of house, but also back of house, in the kitchen, and learning everything there is to learn. I spent a lot of time in the car with our owners. I remember the first day that I joined the company, which was the 1st of April 2019. We sat in the car, the family, the 4 owners, and me, so 5 people in a car. And then we drove to Hamburg because at that time we had a restaurant in Hamburg. And then we drove to Hamburg, and then we had 3 hours in the car driving there. And 3 hours back, we actually drove to Copenhagen, so 4 or 5 hours back. And then we spent the next day, just driving around in Copenhagen as well. And so we spent so many hours in the car, and that was very important, for me as a new CEO, taking over a family-run business that they've had for 10 years at that time, And it was difficult for them to give over the key to a kind of complete stranger.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So spending that many hours in the car with them was very valuable. And then going into the restaurant, working there, it maybe not every day, but close to every day. So I tried to keep out of the daily operations. I tried to keep out of too many big decisions. Of course, I participated in the management meetings, but apart from that, I tried to stay off grid. I also tried to not having a computer, not having a telephone, but that lasted a day or so.
But that makes sense as well. But I do think it's a very good approach to just step back and learn until you're ready, or like you might have been ready already, but to just really understand the business before coming in and say, hey, this is how we're going to do it different.
Exactly. Who am I to come in and mix things up, make a lot of changes, making a new strategy, making a new, roadmap going forward if I don't know the business? That would be wrong.
I get that. And how long did it take to adapt and until you felt ready to say, okay, now we're gonna...
there's a rule of thumb that you have to spend 100 days, in the company before you can make the strategy. And I started in April, and I would say in August, September, we started defining the strategy for the upcoming years, and actually the first strategy of Flammen at all at that time,
was it
right?
The first strategy in general?
Yeah, and there for 10 years there wasn't any strategy, and that's how it is in startups.
Family business also.
Family business, you just go with the flow. You open a restaurant, you open 2, you open 3, you open 4, you open 5, and if you haven't been used to that, then the strategy is to
go with the flow.
The daily operations and go with the flow. And they made a success out of it. So, I applaud that there wasn't a strategy, but we were just growing to a size, having at that time 16 restaurants, and
how many employees?
Close to 1,000 employees. Yeah. So we needed direction. We needed a clear, roadmap on where to go. And we needed to look each other in the eyes, me and the family to begin with, and I have to turn them upside down and shake them a little bit and get all the empty their heads. What do you want with the company? Where do you see the company go? What are your visions? And then of course mix them with with my visions for the company. So we actually, that was the first step of making a new strategy. That was actually to put ourselves into a big meeting room and close the door and then stay in there for 48 hours and just discuss and talk, etc., etc. That was the first step of making the new strategy, and the strategy is actually still living. I mean, it's more or less the same strategy that we're working on. We just adjust it every year.
Yeah, you just evolve.
But the
as you go,
basic is the same as what we did at the end of 2019.
And what is the foundation that you set up at the end of around summer of 2019? What was the first big decisions that you made together? Today's episode is brought to you by Workfeed, the all-in-one platform to manage your restaurant team. Over 2,000 hospitality businesses use Workfeed's workforce management platform to create staff schedules 50% faster, track hours and salaries without errors, streamline team communication, and automate HR processes. Visit workfeed.io to learn more and to try it out for free.
The first big decision, and that was actually not a fun decision, that was actually to create a whole new organization. Restructure the organization. The organization that was in 2019 was a great organization. I mean, they were the resources of bringing Flammen to what it was. They built the success. They made all the restaurant, but new winds was needed to blow, and we needed new experience. We needed people who has tried to working with multiple units before. We needed more people from retail. I had a vision that I wanted to operate the business as you operate a retail business. And that's what our owners wanted as well. That's why I was so lucky to get the position. They wanted someone without the restaurant business. They wanted someone who had the experience, the knowledge, the know-how, who has tried to operate 1 country, 2 countries, 3 countries, 4 countries. So they saw that, and that was. It's difficult for me to say, but I think it was clever of them. And now 7 years later, I think they're happy.
Exactly. Now you have the results to back it up, right? So
exactly.
It's fine to say it yourself.
So we needed to change the organization. And again, not because of the people there was not the right people or because they didn't do a well enough job. They did, but we needed new experience and a different know-how. So we actually let all the people at the headquarters go, except 2, over the coming 3-4 months, and then we build up the organization again.
So from scratch, basically.
From scratch.
How many people were at the headquarters back then?
We are around 30 at the head office, and at that time, I think we were around 15.
Oh, it's a tough decision to.
It was a very tough decision,
make,
and it was not a fun decision.
No,
and,
of course.
And you have to do it with thought leadership, you know. So it was a tough decision and a tough period. But today that was the right decision, and I'm happy that knowing that a lot of the people that we let go of that time are now in new jobs. They're happy. They have made new careers. And several of them have who I still talk to, actually also said that for them it was also the right thing to move on. So I think we operated the business from the first restaurant opened in 2009 to 2019. The first 10 years, that was one part of the journey, and then in 2019 started the second part of the journey.
Flammen 2.0.
Yeah, you could say that.
And I find it interesting. You just mentioned that. The family was basically looking for someone with experience in retail. How do you leverage that experience in retail? Where do you see the biggest value coming from your background into the hospitality industry? Like how can other restaurant groups especially potentially learn from that?
I don't know if other groups can learn from us, because there's so many good groups and good restaurants and good business in Denmark that are doing great. But I think we are a very strategic company after all. So as I said before, we work with our strategy every year. We redefine it. We update it every year. We have a clear plan. So there's nothing that is left for coincidences. We we know in December each year how the plan is going to look for the upcoming year. We present that plan and onboard that plan at a strategy kickoff in January, where we invite the top 80 management and headquarters for a 2 days event. And we present the plan. We have a lot of workshop. We onboard the people, those 80 people in the plan. And actually making the plan, we make the plan during the fall. They are actually a part of that as well.
Oh, nice.
So we place responsibility in the organization, and we place ownership in the organization. So we have a clear plan down to every detail. The plan, we have a strategy folder, a strategy teaser, that visually looks nice, etc., etc. But underneath that lies tons and tons of Excel sheets and project sheets and descriptions with all the actions, all the projects, the responsible people, the deadline, the timing, the timeline, the size of the project is scaled. Project groups are established. So all of that happens in Q4 every year. And then the plan is clear. So the plan is clear into details. People are involved. It's presented to the people, and we create ownership in the organization. So I think that is one of the biggest learnings that we've taken from retail and then implemented in the restaurant industry. Another thing is that we have a clear meeting structure as well. And that's, from the board meetings to the management meetings, to the meetings that the operations has with the district managers has with their boss, our CEO, the meetings that are taking place in the restaurants. There's an agenda for every meeting. And at those meetings, we also follow up on all our KPIs. So we have our KPIs very well defined. We have a lot of KPIs, and we have a lot of data, and we have a lot of reports, and I think actually also too much. But there are 10 KPIs that goes through everything, and that is visible, in the whole organization. At the head office, in the restaurants, in follow-ups, etc., etc. So we focus a lot on the KPIs. We focus a lot on making actions to correct our KPIs if they're down. And this is not rocket science. This is actually basic. But implementing those basic things in a structured way makes a big difference from us as well. And then we're working a lot with culture. That is also not rocket science, but
also important at that size. Or even way earlier, of course, but it only becomes more and more important, especially when you want to grow further like you do.
Exactly. So we work a lot with our culture. Our culture is called Flammen, the flame spirit. Flammen.
That's a nice.
And we talk a lot about our culture. We have different ways and different occasions where we talk about the culture. Both on a higher level, but also down in each restaurants among the staff. We do a lot of different things to maintain the culture. It can be local events in the restaurants. We also do one big company party every year where we invite.
Had one, right?
We had one in Fredericia where we invite all 1,000 employees.
You close down all the restaurants?
We close down all the restaurants one day, first Sunday every February. We do that, and then we celebrate the year we just had. Luckily, we made a lot of records in 2025, so we celebrate those. We have, I would say, 250 people on the stage, not at the same time, but we have a huge award show which lasts an hour and a half. Some of the young people think it's too long. But we really want to honor and celebrate all these people, So we really work a lot with our culture as well.
I think that's
So
a
I think
great
there are
initiative
these
as well.
3-4 things that we've taken from previous jobs, and then working on and within the company. And then I would also say that I'm so lucky that I have a management team that is amazing. And I'm just what you call it, the dirigent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the dirigent. I guess.
Dirigent. I don't know the English word.
The English word either.
But I'm just the orchestrator, the facilitator.
Yeah.
But we have a team that is amazing. As I said, we have 4 people in the management group. Apart from me, and then the organization in general is just fantastic. And they are the reason for all the results that we've been making, all the great results that we've been making the last 3, 4, 5 years. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I also want to speak a little bit about maybe less fortunate times, or let's say more tricky times. Shortly after you started, after you established the first strategy, let's say, something unexpected happened. COVID came around, which I can only imagine had a big impact for a company the size of Flammen back then. How did you cope with that? Like, what was the first things you guys did to adjust?
Yeah, but I remember it clearly, and it's easy now to look back and say, "Hey, we learned a lot from that period, and we also came out stronger." But when you were in it, and when it hit you like a tornado,
literally like a train coming in.
It was tough. It was tough, and I remember it clearly that when we slowly learned that you had COVID incidences in Denmark, and it was spreading, and this was 10 days before the prime minister closed down the country.
Yeah, it went so fast because it was around February. I remember skiing time, and then it started happening in Austria, and from there just
So I remember 10 days before the country was closed down. 10 days, we actually took the decision to close down our restaurants. So 10 days before the country closed down, we closed our restaurants.
Why?
Because we needed to take responsibility. Things were escalating so fast, and we are grill buffet restaurants where people have to go out and get their own food.
Yeah, everything is really going through each other.
And we have so many people through our restaurants. Most of our restaurants have between 300 and 500 people every Friday and every Saturday, and all those people need to go up and get crowded together, and
touching the same materials to take the food.
Exactly. So it was a matter of responsibility. They would say, hey, and we are one of the biggest restaurant chains in Denmark, so we also had responsibility that way, So, and then being a grill buffet restaurant at the same time, I mean, so if we shouldn't do it, who should? But I remember that we one morning we met at 4:00 in the same meeting room where we spent 48 hours 3 months before making the first bricks for the strategy. So it was me and it was our 4 owners, and we looked each other in the eyes and say, okay, what to do?
Yeah.
Really, what to do? And we didn't know anything when we closed the restaurant if we would get any compensation in terms of lost revenue, in terms of salaries, etc. But we did know that closing down that amount of restaurants and having 1,000 people just being sent home until further notice, that was tough.
Yeah,
and the days after was also tough. And then and we knew that the country is going to close down. So it was very it was anxious time, and it was nervous time, because we could see the money just disappearing from the bank account very, very, very fast.
Yeah, especially what you said, right? You when you are in that uncertainty of you don't know how the state is going to help you at that stage, and because everything is so new, like for them it's also crisis. Like they're also doing damage control everywhere at an even bigger scale, of course.
Exactly.
It takes a lot to take that decision then.
And it wasn't funny. It was nerve-wracking, as I said, And again, having 1,000 people that they need to have the salary, of course,
Yeah, they have
every month.
their
We also have to pay our rent every month, but we don't have any revenue. We don't have any turnover at all. So it was tough. And actually, at one time, and I can't remember if this was before the country closed down or right after, but around there, we actually sat down. We have a company that we use when we facilitate our strategy process every year, and they've been working with us now for 7 years. So we took them, one of their consultants, and we said, okay, you need to facilitate a workshop because we need to find out if there is a restaurant Flammen after COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think it must have been after the country closed, but like within a week after the country closed. It was very fast after, and so I remember we were looking up at a board, and the strategy consultant was writing up there, do we believe in a Flammen after COVID, yes or no? And then we took first the yes. It's okay. If it's a yes, what needed to be done? What need to be done right now in order for our guests to trust that it's safe to visit Restaurant Flammen? Because we don't know how long the COVID will take. So do we believe in Flammen during and after COVID? And then afterwards, we took the no. Said, no, we don't believe in that. And then we discussed that. And we had ideas that said, okay, if we don't trust it, then what to do? And then the actions would be close down the brand, reinvent a new brand, a new name, a new concept, spend 3, 4, 5 months implementing this concept in the existing restaurants, and then open again with a new name and new concept. So we were actually discussing closing the company and making a new concept. We at one point we have to choose. We have to choose. I said yes, or I said no, and we chose obviously the yes.
We are here today.
We are here today.
About Flammen,
exactly. But we were sitting and discussing.
Was it close, the decision?
To be honest, not at the end of the meeting.
No, it was
at the end of the meeting where we discussed all the the initiatives and the actions that needs to be taking place, and if we would continue with the concept, and then discussing imagine the amount of time and the amount of money and energy it would take to reinvent the concept.
Yeah, and it's also just a big gamble in a sense, right?
Big gamble.
Because you have something that is established, that works, and yes, you might have to deal with re-establishing trust, but then again, everyone had to close down, and people also know it's not your fault. And I think especially in places where people tend to follow the restrictions and the advice of the government rather well, I do think it's maybe a little bit less to worry about in that sense. But at that moment, of course, anything is it's difficult. It must also be difficult to keep your head clear and to make the decisions.
You couldn't think 100% clear, to be honest.
No.
It's just like a month before we made a brand analysis, and that brand analysis was very positive. I mean, the brand was strong, also at that time actually, and we had a high loyalty rate among our guests as well. So I think that analysis also was a part of us saying, listen, people actually like the brand. I mean, the people that visit us like the brand. We have at that time, I don't know, 800,000 guests through our restaurants every year. So hey,
there must be a reason for that.
There must be a reason for this, and don't give up. So let's fight. And then we took on the overalls, and then we started fighting. And we actually took the strategy, which we just made. We spent from August to November 19 to do the strategy. Then we started implementing the strategy in December, January, then February.
Done.
So we took the strategy, opened the drawer, put it down there, and then we made a new strategy for which we updated every quarter.
Yeah, because you constantly had to adjust with COVID, of course, and
exactly. We also made there was like 10 different micro actions that we did. So we took the whole guest journey, from when you go to the website, when you book the table, when you enter the restaurant, when you get seated, when you make the first order, when you go for the first time to the buffet, etc., etc. And then for each of those touch points, we made 4 or 5 micro actions in order to make the guest feel safe when they enter the restaurants. And then, of course, there was also a period where we couldn't have the restaurants open. So, but hey, that gave us time to dream big and adjust the strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
And be ready for when we were allowed to open the restaurants again.
Yeah, it also comes stupid enough with benefits, right? One small last part about this before moving on to talk more about the recent times, really. Apart from COVID, you've been through a lot of other big challenges over these years. Do you have any advice, tips for people on how to deal with those unforeseen circumstances?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, stay calm. Take it easy and take your time to think, to look at solutions, not only one solution, but different solution, and then use your organization. I mean, we are very, what you call that in English? Our management team, we are very close.
Yeah,
we're very close. And that's a part of the strategy. We have a few times every year where we actually have a camp for the management team to get to know each other, both on a work level, but also on a personal level. So we invited a part of the organization into this and got as many opinions and as many views as possible on the table to be able to take some kind of decision. And we've done that every time, whether it was the war in Ukraine, whether it was that the food prices were rising, and then we invited our partner who helped us with the strategy in order to facilitate. So we never facilitate alone. We always have someone to facilitate. Not every decision, but the bigger decision, workshops, etc., so that we are free to talk and discuss and share ideas. And then there's someone else,
They just provide like exercises,
workshops, timing, wrap up, sum up, have the schedules for or the templates for the plans,
exactly.
for all the strategic work, so that we can discuss actually.
Yeah, nice.
So we don't hurry. We take our time. We use the organization. We get as much valid input as possible. We use other people as well, and then we. It's not that we let things marinate too long, but we try not to take too fast decisions.
Yeah, no hasty decisions.
Exactly.
Actually think it through.
Exactly.
Even though it's a stressful time, I do think it's always the right approach to just stay calm.
Exactly, and then think logical. Put ourselves in the place of the guests. So we're really not trying to only look inside out, but also outside in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it clearly worked out well for Flammen.
Yeah, thank you.
Because was it I think both 2024 and 2025 have been record-breaking years.
Yeah.
I think the question I'm going to ask you now is kind of explanatory because you already answered it, but do want to challenge you again to maybe in a few words try to explain where you think, or what do you think made this possible, that you came out so strong out of all these challenges?
I mean, it's been hard work, and the cornerstones were made in 2019 with the strategy. So and a part of our strategy is to be very ambitious and to have clear goals. So in our strategy, we have 2 promises. We have a promise that that involves our staff, and then we have a promise that involves our guests. And the promise, and again, this might sound very basic, but it's the truth. The promise to our staff is that we want to have the highest staff satisfaction in the industry. Period.
Yeah, that is the aim to always have.
That is the aim. Yeah. And for the guest, we want to have the highest guest satisfaction within the industry, period. So that's easy. That's easy in the strategy to make 2 promises. But what we do is that we convert these promises into measurements. So we put KPIs into those measurements, and we say, okay, we want to increase this KPI with, let's say, 5% or 10% year by year. So we put the organization down to this, and we have not been afraid to recruit the right people to do that. So our people and culture department, just for instance, now consists of 4 people. Before, a few years back, we had 0. So now we have 4.
It's hard to communicate to have 0 if one of your biggest premises is we want to have the best staff satisfaction in the industry.
Then, of course, you can work with your district manager and with your restaurant managers, etc., etc. So we also set the organization to it. So now we have 4 people. They have different tasks and other tasks as well. But a lot of the time goes on working on this. And we have 1 people and culture partner for each district. So each district and each district consists of 6, 7, 8 restaurants. Right?
That's around 250 people.
Exactly. They have their own people and culture partner. So we put the organization up for it, and we hire good people. So the people and culture partner we have been working within this area in other businesses and have had success in other businesses and other areas as well. And then when we put the goals for the KPIs, then we also put actions. So before, as I said before we start a year, there's a well-defined action plan for people and culture department on how they are going to increase the
KPIs and
the KPIs for the staff satisfaction, the employee satisfaction. There are clear plans on how to do that, and that works. And we have the same for the guest satisfaction. And again, it's not rocket science. It's basic, but we stick to the plan. We invest in the plan, and we invest in the people, and that pays off. And that has shown to pay off in 24 and 25. So it's not that we in 24, 25 of course we did a lot of actions, but it's because of the things that and the decisions that we took in 22 and 23 that is paying off now. Like, we don't have any problems in recruiting, to be honest. And I know a lot of people in the industry, they have these problems. We don't. Of course, we of course also can have difficulties hiring a kitchen manager in a certain area in a certain city because of the segment or because of the area, But in general, we don't have any issues. If you take our restaurant in Roskilde, they have a waiting list of 25 people just wanting to work with us.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that is amazing. And so a
it's
lot of
great validation, right, for the points you just made that are so vital in your strategy, that those things are actually there. Like, it's I must imagine it's one of the nicest things for you to find out, definitely, or to hear those type of things.
Hard work pays off.
Yeah, exactly.
But to be honest, if I had to say just one thing that make all this happen, that is the strategy. That is the strategy and the people.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I find it in general the red thread throughout the conversation, right? And speaking of another bit of strategy, now we've been talking a lot about the foundation and building it up. What's next for Flammen? Because I believe you are planning to open several new locations in Denmark, but also in a new country.
Yeah, definitely. And if I can, may I just add one thing to the strategy thing?
Of course.
Because one thing is to make the strategy. It's easy to make a strategy. It's easy to make a nice strategy folder. It's easy to have a kickoff event where you have champagne and you celebrate and you present the strategy. The hardest thing is to make it alive on a daily basis.
And to execute.
And to make sure that there is ownership for the strategy. I've been in several companies also in some of the companies I mentioned before, where we launch a strategy every year, but then the daily operations took over, and you forget the strategy. And then suddenly 6 months passes, 9 months passes, and then you find out, oh, what about the strategy?
No one took it.
No one took it. No one, and no one talks about it, and it's not alive, you know. And then you make a new strategy and present that and spend a lot of money on strategy consultants, etc., etc. But maybe some of the money was a waste of money. So we spend a lot of time on really making sure that the strategy lives on an operational basis. We have tools, follow-up meetings. We have certain schemes that needs to be followed out and carried out, and you know, in the restaurants and followed up upon by the district managers. So all the wheels are kind of, you know,
they're connected.
In that sense.
And I guess a lot of it comes back to accountability, to giving the accountability to the people outside of the office as well.
Yes.
Right.
And empower them.
Yeah.
Empower them to take that responsibility. We've been working a lot on that as well. That we don't want to sit at the head office and dictate or to say how things should be done. You have to empower the people to do that. You know, as I said, I'm only we only the facilitators.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all the teams out there in the restaurants and at the head office that execute.
But it's also the right way. I think, in my opinion, in everyone's opinion, I would hope so, because you have to just involve the people who are in the field, who are closest to it, especially with the type of work you guys are doing at Flammen. It's so important to have everyone connected to it, because it also just makes the load easier for everyone to handle, right?
And then we don't take decisions based on gut feelings. It's very rare that we do. No, it's very rare. Of course, it has to feel good in the stomach to go out and open in Sweden. You know, we would not open in Sweden if I would say, it's probably with the wrong country. Maybe it should be Norway. We would not do that. So of course, the stomach feeling should be there as well. But we have a huge data load. As I said before, maybe too huge, but we have a lot of data, and we measure everything in data. And our Power BI dashboard is developed over the past 2-3 years. So most of the decisions that we actually take is also based on data, and that's both in terms of the operation and decisions, but especially within our marketing team. We have a CMO, Susanne, who comes with a tech background, and she really turned marketing into not being something nice. You know, marketing is always being told to make it look good or make it shine a little bit,
pretty.
Make it pretty. And that's not how we work with marketing and branding.
Actually make it a performance-based thing.
It's totally performance and data-based when we look at the marketing side of operating our business. And that's also another key factor to the success that we've had the past years. That's a marketing a machine that we have. The marketing engine is huge. We also spend a lot of millions on it, but
if you know that the payback is
a big engine, and it works. Okay.
And especially, I think, when we just jumped over the question a bit for a very good reason, though. But especially, indeed, when entering new territory, where in Denmark, your name, Flammen, the concept, everyone knows it, it's familiar. To establish that again in a new country, we heard it here several times before with restaurant groups going to, for instance, Norway, UK. You had it yourself when going to Germany. Now you're going to Sweden. Can you elaborate a little bit on the decision to go to Sweden in the first place and how you're going to do it different this time?
One of the learnings that I took with me from retail is to be thorough, and don't do anything half, and don't take too quick decisions. So actually, we've been working on the Swedish market for almost 2 years now. In April or May, it's 2 years since me and our CEO went to Sweden for the first time. So we spent a lot of time in Sweden. We visited a lot of Swedish cities. We ate at a lot of Swedish restaurants as well. And then we teamed up with some very good Swedish consultants who helped us a lot, both in terms of making analysis, but also in terms of having the commercial point of view on the concept. So we've really been preparing ourselves a lot. As I said, almost 2 years, right? And that makes us having both the right set of data and also the gut feeling that the Swedish market has a blue ocean for us to dive into, and all the analysis that we've done and the data we've benchmarked, etc., turned out in our favor. Meaning that we a bit less than a year ago took the decision to say, okay, Sweden is the right market to enter. It's not Norway, it's not Finland, it's not trying to get back to Germany. We will get back to Germany eventually, but not now. Now it's Sweden.
But you also looked into all the other countries you just mentioned then? Or like
Norway, definitely. But not in that detailed. But yes, when you have when you have to decide on which country you should do your open the next restaurants in and your expansion in, you have to you're often looking at different countries, and then eventually you have to come down to one country. So we spent let's say 2-3 months to find out, okay, should it be Norway that we would look more detail into, should it be Finland or should it be Sweden? And then based on several things, we said, okay, let's deep dive into Sweden, and we deep dived into Sweden, and it turned out to be positive. And as I said, it looks like there is a blue ocean for us to dive into. So that's the first thing that is important for us. That is to take the time, make sure you have the data is straight, that you do a lot of analysis to make sure that you feel comfortable that the country is the right one to do expansion in. And then second of all, we need to have boots on the ground. We cannot sit in Denmark and operate at a different country. It's not possible. So we hired a country manager, Jimmy, and Jimmy, he started in June last year.
It's also already quite a long time then.
Yeah, because you have to build up a company, you have to set up a company, you have to get into all the rules, the labor laws, for instance. We have to make agreements with suppliers, with logistics. We have to do the whole
scratch, of course,
market entry strategy, the go-to-market strategy. And Jimmy has done that. Then we hired Ida as well as our business development manager for Sweden. Ida comes within the business, been many years with Nation in Sweden. He has a huge experience within the business. And Jimmy has been a country manager for various companies in Sweden as well. Before he joined us, he was a country manager for something called Fitness 24/7, who has, I think, 80 or 90 gyms
they know
in
about
Sweden.
Rapid expansion of new locations.
Exactly. So he knows how to grow a company locally. So we have 2 good people in Sweden, and you need to have boots on the ground. We didn't have that in Germany when we had as I said, we had a restaurant in Hamburg which we closed, but a reason of why we closed it was because we didn't do it well enough in the beginning. And we're doing that
and that's part of it as well, because you do get to learn a lot from it. I just heard you mention briefly about the people you're working with in Sweden. Is that also the goal in Sweden, to open a lot of new locations? What is the goal in general for the coming years?
Definitely. I mean, we are very what you call it? We have to crawl before you can walk. So we don't think that we are all that. We take it. We want to gain the trust of the Swedish people as well. So we don't think we can just come to Sweden and then everything will just go perfect from the beginning. No, we
get a proof of concept.
We take it easy. We have to get proof of concept. Now we open in Halmstad. We are also negotiating with locations in Helsingborg and in Malmö and in Växjö. And we want in the beginning to open 3 restaurants, 2 this year and 1 next year. Maybe all 3 this year. Let's see. I mean, when we open the doors in Halmstad, if people, they are just, the bookings go crazy, and we reach our max capacity every day, then we will open fast. But we don't know, and we don't know what we don't know.
You're opening soon, right?
The 26th of March.
So it's coming really close. So
it's coming really close.
The answers might come soon.
The market in Sweden has a potential, and it has bigger potential than in Denmark. In
Denmark,
Denmark,
twice as big, of course. As well.
Yeah, but if the end goal of number of restaurants in Denmark is 30. That's
the limit. You also basically only have one restaurant per big city.
Yeah,
here, right.
Exactly.
Because that is just the limit you have when it's that big. And
exactly. And right now we have 20 restaurants. We opened 3 more in Denmark this year. We opened in Lyngby, in Køge and Hjørring. Then we are at 23, and then we have identified seven locations more that we want to open in. So I guess in the next 2 years we have those 30 restaurants in Denmark, which is also why we need to go outside in terms of still growing, you know. But the market in Sweden is the same. There's a capacity of around 32 restaurants.
Yeah.
I mean, they have 11 cities alone with 100,000 people living there. So that's the first 11 cities or restaurants.
That sounds amazing. Pete, I have a feeling we could still sit here for a few more hours to speak, but we have run out of time, unfortunately.
I can see that.
I want to wish you all the best of luck with the expansion in Sweden.
Thank you.
I think it would be lovely to, in a year or so, maybe just get you back at the table to actually reflect on how that's been going.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.